Hi everyone, and welcome to the Transcendence Succeed show. Today's guest is someone who I met a long time ago. I think it's probably 10 years ago, we were doing a spiritual healing course and we met and we connected, and we've kept in touch over the years, and I've thoroughly enjoyed watching the journey that she's been on, both personally and professionally. So Albina is the CEO of the Academy of Life and Money, with over 30 years experience in education, business and money management. She has guided many women from financial instability to security through her diverse qualifications, including a diploma in financial counselling, a graduate diploma in psychology, a Bachelor of Teaching in early education, and an advanced certificate in Small Business Catering Operations. Oh my gosh, Albina. She's also a certified theta healing instructor, a Reiki master and intuitive, and Albina integrates financial expertise with holistic healing practices. Her mission is to support individuals in achieving financial security through comprehensive education, personalized mentoring, and transformative mindset healing experience. An accomplished entrepreneur, business consultant, mentor, and financial empowerment coach, Albina leverages her skills to help individuals navigate their financial journeys with confidence and clarity. Now, on top of all of this, she's also an author of several acclaimed books on financial management and personal development. One of them is including Help Me, My Finances Are a Mess, Your Guide to Financial Pain Relief, and Sustainability Cuts Your Expenses. So she's passionate about financial wellness. Albina is dedicated to empowering individual women and families to achieve lasting financial well-being. Welcome to the show, Albina. I'm so happy that you're joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Megan. I'm excited to be here and very grateful.
Oh, great. How does it feel when you hear all of those amazing qualifications and skills that you have when I was going through your bio?
I'm actually very proud of it, but sometimes I feel a bit old, but I'm young at heart, so it's all good.
You're definitely young at heart, that's for sure. So can you share with the audience to begin with what your journey was and what inspired you to start your business?
Okay, so I've had a bit of a long journey, as we've discovered. So I think as a child, I witnessed, I had a bit of a tough childhood. I saw what I didn't know was financial abuse and other forms of abuse in families that I thought was normal, but I grew up to realize they weren't. So I vowed never to have that. Then I was always promising myself I was going to work. I wasn't going to rely on a man. I'm happily married, but I'm very independent at the same time, my own person. We got married when I was 23. We've been married for 27 years, so that'll give you a hint about my age. And then we started our journey and, bought a little house and had babies. Like I had my first son, who's 25 now. He and I was on maternity leave, and I remember like freaking out about money, like feeling really like I haven't got my job at the moment. I don't want to spend money. And I was so worried about spending money on myself because I wasn't working. So I had to really overcome that. But when I had my second son 5 years later, because journey on, I became a coordinator or a director of early childhood centres for a council centre, which is a public centre for us, I guess, a local government centre. And then I had my second son. But at that time, we had my mother-in-law dying of cancer. My husband got made redundant from his job. All these things happened. So both of us weren't working because I went on maternity leave at 7 months early because of the stress of all the things that were happening with the long-term illness and things like that. Lo and behold, I had an autoimmune issue that I didn't really know about, which came on in the pregnancy as well. So all these things were happening. So I wasn't feeling very well. And we were living off credit. Like my husband had a bit of money, made redundant. It was a good thing in a way because he could take care of his mum, whereas I couldn't at that time. So it really was a learning curve for us. So after all that happened and we got back to some normalcy, we got rid of the credit card debt, vowed never to have that happen again. I was like, I'm never having to rely on other people for work and worry about my husband being made redundant. It was just this big redundancy in a bank. It wasn't anything he had done. It was just they were just curbing things, you know. And then I was like, that's it. I'm going to go into business for myself. But I thought doing that would make me, like I thought I could do it well anyway, which I did. So I created 2 early childhood centres. We ran them for 10 years and they flourished and they had excellent ratings. And, you know, I was really passionate about teaching children. But while I was there, staff, the teachers and parents were asking me, how do I manage my money? Because like to them, I looked, you know, I was on top of it by then, trust me. Like back then when we had all those things happening when my second son was born, it was a learning curve for me. So that's what I write about in my book, Help Me, My Finances Are a Mess. That was the big learning curve about money for me. And then I started giving, like a natural counsellor at that time, I started giving like advice to people about it. And then I got this passion to write about it. And then I decided 10 years later to sell them because my kids needed me. By then I had my third and I was working 7 days a week. So it was about life balance then and I had the choice. So we sold the businesses and then I became a coach, a writer. I did psychology. I started coaching in all the healing modalities. And that's where I am now, like having that life balance. But I'm very lucky because of all the work and preparation and planning I did. Majority of my income is passive income now. So very little, you know, is coaching. So by doing that, I've been able to give myself choice of what I do and how I help people. And I'm very passionate about helping people. And so that's where I am today with all that studying and all that experience.
And when you talked about, you know, growing up in an environment where financial abuse and coming from a place of where finance wasn't in a healthy energy, and then when you were in the position that you were when you'd had your second son, is that something then that bubbled up in you, sort of thinking, driving you to then become, you know, more self-sufficient so that you wouldn't get to where you were?
Yeah, I never wanted to be like that again. And I never wanted to be like the people I'd seen like that. Yeah. So, like, you know, I loved them, but I wasn't I vowed never to have those relationships or any of that happen to me, and actively working on it, manifesting. I didn't know back then I was manifesting, but I was very powerfully feeling that. And I was like, I'm going to have a really good relationship with my husband. We're going to be equal partners. And when we were like getting married and discussing getting married, I was saying we're partners, right? It's not this. Like I had to make sure. And that was my belief and my worry, I guess. So really now, as I see it in hindsight, I've learned a lot about myself and helped me create one of my courses. It's called Money Magic for Heart-Centered People. And we go through your money story. We drill down from your childhood to your teenage years, to young adulthood, and to now. And people are amazed by what they find. They have this like light bulb moment. And I love watching it, and they go, oh my God. And then we go into it and we learn what behaviors are behind it, and we, go into how they can manage it and change it. And we do a bit of healing in some instances if they're open to it.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. It's really amazing. I mean, you and I met when we were doing theta healing, and, one of the core things in theta healing is, digging on those beliefs and the conscious beliefs and the unconscious beliefs. And it's incredible, isn't it, about how we go through our life having these unconscious beliefs about money that aren't even necessarily ours either.
No, that's right.
Yeah, incredible. And so when you can unlock that, I think it gives you, I don't know, it just releases you from all these things that you didn't even know were stopping you from having an abundance of finance and joy and happiness and love. Beautiful.
And it's all combined. Like, people don't realize that different parts of their relationships and life areas can actually affect their money. And so really, we're not just looking at money, we're looking at, are you stuck in this area? Is there problems in this area? What's keeping you stuck with your money? It can be anything, and you just be surprised by what it is. And I always remember we would sit there in shock and go, oh my God, I can't believe that just came out. That's an actual belief for me. Yeah. And I would just be like in awe. Like, it was just amazing how quickly they change. And if they weren't changing straight away, we'd have to dig deeper and find a bit more about it. But not everyone is comfortable with that. They might just prefer the traditional way at first, but eventually it comes to that, and then they're more confident. And, you teach them muscle testing and things like that, and they're like, oh my, even that surprises people, muscle testing. They find it really interesting. So it's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, definitely. And so what are the core services or products that your business offers, and then how do they benefit your clients?
So basically, coaching has been a main part of my business. I'm opening up to, I do group coaching as well, and group courses. And then there's been a lot of healing sessions around those as well. And at first I was doing quite a lot of healing, and then money came to the forefront. And like I said, it ends up being about all areas. And then things like my books, like I really am passionate about writing, because if you can't afford to do different things, you can always read a book. You know what I mean? And reading a book is part of my morning routine, because that's one way of learning new things. So in that, they benefit from learning about themselves, guiding them to what they need. So it's not about me, it's about them. So I really ask those questions to find where they're at, what they want to do, what they need help with, and then we create an action plan of sorts, and then go with that. And maybe the action plan is, do one of my courses, will we work on this? What is, the goal? It's different for everyone. So that's what I love about it as well. It's never the same thing. It's always different things for everybody. Everyone's an individual, and you just got to go with that and help them out as best you can.
Yeah, amazing. And so we know that you've got this very strong, grad dip in psychology, and you've got the financial part of you. So that's all very logical thinking. It's all very, yes, this has got logic to it, but then you've got this spiritual side to you too. So how do you integrate your personal spiritual practices into your business operations? How does that work? Where does that show?
So when I meet people, I'm basically asking them for their permission to see if they are happy for me to connect with them. I explain what I can do. I am intuitive. I am psychic. When I was a child, I was psychic, and it scared me because I had no idea what was happening. I could see things, but then I learned not to see things, learned how to manage it. I can control it, block and unblock now. Great practices. And so now I use it to help people, that they know when they come in what I do, and they can say yes or no. It's up to them. But for me, most of my people work with me. They do want that healing and that spiritual side of it, and they want me to connect. So I'll use my psychic intuition, I will only with permission. It's very important. It needs to be with permission for me. And then I'll use things like cards. I'll use different things, whatever modalities they feel they need, but it's always through a positive source for me. I don't want to use any negative things. So I use protection, things like that. Is that answering your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so let's continue on with that thought then, that can you describe a particularly memorable success story or a transformation you've witnessed in a client?
Sure. So I'm thinking of the heart-centered course and looking at my first one, which was one of my, there was a few people in it, and it's really interesting the realizations they came up with in the beginning about their childhood and how vast and different they can be. Like, so one lady, she remembered that there wasn't enough money for her family to eat because her dad was drinking and gambling it away. And so the kids were hungry and the wife was hungry. And then it got to the point where mum had enough and, you know, that was it. But she remembers that, and she knows that she knew that it was fueling her fear of money and how she managed money. And so we went through what it was. She became aware, and then we used theta healing to clear it. And then when you use theta healing, you have to change strategies or routine as well to make it stick sometimes. And so she changed her routine as well. So she made sure that she did affirmations and, you know, the miracle morning, like things like that. I'm really into that, you know, like get up at 5:30 in the morning and do those affirmations and visualizations and stuff. So she's changed that now, and you can see the abundance that's coming for her. It's really lovely to see that I've been part of that journey. It's her journey, but I've helped her, and I'm very grateful for that. I love helping people with that journey and getting to the crux of things that are keeping them stuck and getting them through it. So I love that. I love that about my work.
And when you said that she had this realization as a child, like from her childhood, was that an aha moment for her? Was it something that she blocked before that she hadn't really thought of?
So she knew about it, but it was like another realization. Like, do you know what I mean? And then like another, like it was like, oh my gosh, this is really still affecting me. I knew about it, but why is it still affecting me? And then there was another lady, she realized talking to her mum would say things to her and she would take it on and believe it. And this was as a young adult, just married, and like she's older now, but she was like, oh my God, that really affected me, you know, and things like that. And then another one, her mum, she felt she was narcissistic and she would do things to her. And so she ended up marrying the same kind of person. And then now she's a single mum, and just those experiences and how they haven't realized that the effects of childhood as well, and how that informed their adulthood journey. And then and how it repeats the story at times because you haven't learned that life lesson yet. And so learning that life lesson that way, or using healing modalities, you complete it and then you can move on.
Yeah, because it's quite fascinating, isn't it, in the sense of the things that we hear as a child that we don't really take much notice of, but then we take on as an adult. One of the things that I used to take on, well, I realise now I took on, was my parents used to say money was the root of all evil. And so, I mean, I think that that's a classic, you know, but that was just how I grew up, and that was just something that was always spoken about in the house. And so I didn't realise how much I had actually, I may not have consciously believed it, but subconsciously I had taken that on. So it's quite interesting to start to unpack that sort of thing.
And it's really true, because then when we do those muscle testing, we ask if it's your actual belief or have you taken on your parents' actual belief or a group consciousness belief, which is really amazing how many of us actually do. You know, like it's amazing what you find.
Yeah.
You know, like things that generational, ancestral things. I remember when we were first doing What About courses, and I had blocked this out completely. So I'm of Italian background, And I was like, and my dad was like, curses are everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want to deal with that. And I blocked it out. And then we sat in one of our first classes and our instructor goes, Albina, check for a curse. And I was like, really? And I did. And I was just in awe. I was like, oh my God, I could not remember how many times I've heard that word. And I can't believe how many curses I've had to lift, not only off other people, but myself. Even the negative intention of other people saying negative things towards you can even impact you. And so clearing off you every day is another thing to do.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh gosh, I knew that this conversation there's so many things to talk about.
I know.
We need to take a break and hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. So stay tuned, everyone. There's lots more to come, I can tell you. Welcome back, everybody, and Albina. So we are just talking in relation to all of these belief systems that we take on as children and young adults, and they can particularly block our financial abundance or just any type of abundance as we get older. And I'm curious to know, so you talked about a little bit before, we were talking about a particular memorable moment of a client that had a breakthrough and had been able to change the way that they looked at their abundance and their money and those sort of things. And we're talking also about the spirituality and the healing that you do in relation to this. So do you have an example of something that perhaps you got an aha moment for yourself in relation to your business that you thought, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that, and then you were able to change it and it's shifted from a financial perspective?
Oh, I think so. I think personally there was this big, deep desire, need to help everyone with their financial, which there still is, but it's not a, there's like when you're so focused and obsessed with it, like, so I had a belief to be obsessed with it, right? Now it's not an obsession because it's like, it's peaceful and it's all this, but do you know why? It's ridiculous. I completely forgotten, blanked out myself that when I was younger, I actually had a time where I was couch surfing for a bit. So I was at someone else's house because I wasn't in my house, my family house. Right. And I was lucky it was my grandparents, but it's still like, and I love them dearly and they were like beautiful people, but it still felt displaced. And there was like I completely forgot about it. You know what I mean? And that's what we call couch surfing today. You know, you're at someone else's house because you're not at your own permanent home. And I blocked it out. blocked it out, and it was fueling this whole, my goal, my avatar, who I was working with. I had to help people. That was my aha moment, like, and so now it's more relaxed, and it's, I'm able to like do it with unconditional love rather than fear, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah? And was it then because it was coming from fear that you were attracting the wrong type of clients, or were you just giving all of your time as well? You probably weren't asking for money, or were those the sort of things that you're experiencing as well?
All of the above, Megan. All of the above. So yeah, it really does affect what you do. And I was still doing it to myself until someone else I knew, she's intuitive as well, and she was like, there's something here. And I'm like, what? And she goes, what happened to you? And I said, look, I've covered everything, I'm telling you. And she goes, no, there's something else. And then she said, what happened here? And I went, oh God. And there it was. There's the aha moment that was affecting the way I ran my business and gave freebies and things. And I still, I like to be generous, and I love to go above and beyond, but there was this intense need to do it. Now it's an unconditional love message. Yeah.
So you were sacrificing yourself and everything about you because you had that strong desire to help other people, and you forgot about yourself in the process. And and to be honest, I don't really think that, you being a couch surfer is really a model for then people going, yes, come work with me. I'm really good with financial abundance. Where do you live? Oh, I'm living on my parents' couch at the moment.
That's right. But you know what I mean? Like, I was 15 then, and then I was happening again when I was 20, but I'm like a lot older now, and a lot of things have changed. So, and that's the thing. You're learning from someone that's forgotten about some of the experiences because I blocked them out, but I've actually had those experiences. So I understand them, if that makes sense. Yeah. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's a really important point that I think that's why we get attracted to working with people, because it's about the person's story that then you can relate to, that you think, oh, I really want to work with that person because they're going to be able to relate to where I'm coming from. There's that real connection there.
And definitely. And now I want to work with mums that want to create a secure life for themselves and their family through extra money or business. So it's much more relaxed avatar, much more relaxed kind of, so yeah. We're all learning. We can be really good at our jobs, I have to say this, but we're still learning as well. So
absolutely.
Still healing ourselves all the time. So we have to do it every day sometimes, and they recommend you do. So just taking that time to look at what's stressing you out. And I like to do, and this is a sidetrack, but I like to do mind dump, and I write down things for 10 minutes to see what subconsciously is happening for me. And then I'm like, oh, I've got to heal that. I've got to heal that. I've got to heal that. So there's a little tip for you. It's quite effective, actually.
That's excellent. That's very good, actually. Okay. So can you take us through some challenges that you have faced in growing your business, and then how have you overcome them?
Yeah, okay. So my first one would be technology.
Oh, okay.
It's come a long way, hasn't it? I mean, back in the day when I used to use an electric typewriter for high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and then we got computers, and then we had programs, and now it's a lot easier to use, but I'm actually quite proficient with most things now. So, that was something. And then measuring out what media works for you, but that's more of an experiment. And someone said to me recently, it's what you use. So, if you use it for advertising and social media and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So surely that's not the only challenge that you've had.
No, I definitely, like we said before, my blocks, I think there were blocks about, and I think a lot of healers go through this, about worthiness and, if you're coming through with a lack of confidence. So for me, for instance, as I said before, like, okay, I'm psychic, but oh my God, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what was happening, or why I could see, like, I thought it was a really weird deja vu, or I could tell if someone was pregnant or trying to get pregnant. I used to freak people out because I would just blurt out what was happening. And then I would blurt out, things like spirit would nag me until, or creator or whoever your deity is would say this to them, say this to them, say this to them. But we know it's not actually creator, it's fifth plane energy. And I would just sit there listening to this and then, blurt it out and just let people have that message, and then they would stop. So that gave me relief, but it wasn't the way to do it. So that's how I ended up having a mentor and learning to block it. But my confidence, like for so long, I thought this was not right. Because I came from a Catholic background, and I love like my family and everything, but the judgments that were put on me because of other people's experience with their psychicness, and they went down a dark path. That wasn't me. I've made sure I've never gone that, because I've learned from that person and their experience. So I made sure it was always in a safe way. You know what I mean? For me, always through angelic ways, always through, creator. And so that was more of my block and my thing to deal with, and that it's really about your self-belief. Everything is about your self-belief and your subconscious beliefs, and your the way you handle it, the way you learn from it, the way you visualize what you want to do next. So for me now, it's visualize what I want. My things, everything's already happened for me. My goals have already happened for me. And I would write affirmations, but I would forget to visualize and feel it. That was the difference as well. And so now that I do that, everything's more successful and I'm more aware.
Yeah. And so we just talked about challenges. Is there something that someone has taught you or mentored you or shared with you through your business that had a really aha moment that you can share with the audience?
Mine or theirs?
Yeah, yours. Yeah.
So you'll have to repeat the question, my love. Sorry.
So we've just been talking about challenges in the business and how you've overcome them. But is there a moment or a piece of advice or something that a mentor or a coach has given you advice on that you've had a real aha moment and it's really helped you in your business?
Yeah, just be you. And that's the thing. Just be me. And so you see me say, can you repeat the question? I'd be too scared to say that, but you know what I mean? Like I have to be professional and I have to be I'm just being me now. You know what I mean? Have a bit of a laugh, but obviously get the work done. And, it's got to be enjoyable. If you're sitting there stressed out, how are you going to learn? And that's one thing from my teaching days. How is anyone going to learn if you're stressed? And so that's where I bring in, other things as well, like breathing exercises, and I do them myself. I meditate, and I bring what I've used to correct or change the things for me and share them with other people. So yes, that's how I've overcome those challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's nice. It's nice. It's always nice too, because we always go to, what are the challenges? But it's always nice to hear, what are the aha moments that you've had as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
That's okay.
So with your financial hat on and your logical brain, and then you've got your spiritual side as well, how do you stay updated and continue to grow within the spiritual community and then the industry itself?
So a lot of networking courses, reading, research. Like this morning, I even did a DNA 3 practice session, which is a theta healing, part of the theta healing area. So keep repracticing skills, researching, reading. I like to read every morning to keep me going as well, and just networking, and I have a community of people that we're all spiritual healers and coaches and things, and so we all share and talk. I have my own coach as well, because I think that helps as well. And just still attending courses, networking. Yeah, and research. I do a lot of research as well. That's my psychology days for you.
Right.
But okay. I want to give people the best, and I want to get it right. You know what I mean? So that's why I do that. I'm very passionate about making sure I give them the best that they can have.
So how do you balance that though when we're talking about, the woohoo side and the spiritual side, that it's really hard to put your finger on things sometimes? Do you struggle with that when you think, oh my gosh, I've got to research this, but actually it just comes from within you?
Well, it does, but there's also a direction of saying you need to look for this. And so so I just want to expand. And what it often is that I'll get a message about it, and then I'll just actually expand on it. So I was like, they've said da da da, like write about. Okay, so the other day I was writing about financial brilliance for mums. So they said, they gave me the topics, and then I went and researched it and just made sure I was hearing it right, I guess. But I like, when I get those messages, I like to do more about it. I feel like I'm doing more, I guess, that way.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. It's just it's interesting. I like doing it. I like reading. I like writing. So, and I like my messages too. Very grateful for them. It wouldn't be me without them. See, I've come a long way to say that.
You have, definitely. So can you tell us a little bit more about the second book that you have written? So the sustainability, what is sustainability?
Cuts your expenses.
Cuts your expenses, yeah.
So basically that is another passion of mine. So I didn't realise how much recycling or planting or saving money, like going back to the old ways as well in a way, like so not using paper towel, you use tea towels, or using beeswax covers instead of Glad wrap. It saves you money and it's better for the environment, and I'm passionate about the environment. So just combining the two together. Like I like cutting, like these are just little fun things I like to do. So, but they work. And so like getting potato peels and putting them in the garden, and you get potatoes, you know what I mean? You don't have to do anything to it. And you've saved your money on potatoes, and they're organic if you start off with the right stuff. And then you've got like cut-offs of lettuce or cut-off. So my garden would have, it needs a bit of work right now. It's got a lot of chives, but I have different things in there. Celery, we've got on the kitchen bench, I've got celery and leeks growing in water, and then I put them in the garden and we grow it. So it saves you money. So you like buy it once, but then you use it two, 3 times. So things like that. And that helps with the environment. And also coming from that spiritual side, you're building a relationship with the environment because you're protecting it. You're using less waste, you're using less plastics, and you're saving yourself money in the long run as well.
Interesting. Very interesting. I think too that, if we're thinking of it from a sustainability point of view, I think the clothing industry, I think, has got a lot to answer for at the moment too, because I think there's an extraordinary amount of clothing that is, just tossed away, and there's nothing. It's just in landfill. It's not even recycled or sold or even gifted to charities.
Yeah. And that's hard, isn't it? And that's another thing to look at. And so, like, I think of things like, how can you use this old shirt again? And like my husband's grandmother used to use it as a cleaning rag. So, if you pull it out and use it as a cleaning rag for the car, or, something else, you can make it into a quilt. There's like different things you can do with it to reuse it again, give it life again. So it's just having that thought process in the back of your mind about how to reuse and recycle, I guess, and save yourself money at the same time. Yeah, but it helps the environment.
Yeah. There's a lot of benefit to that.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to someone, or if there's someone here on the show listening and they're about to start their own business, what advice would you give to them when they are setting it up, and what sort of things would you advise to think about particularly from a long-term point of view? I think
you need to know what your why is, why you're doing it. You need to know who your customer is, what your goals are. You need to know how you want to set it up. You need to make sure what the legalities are of it. And then talk to me and I'll coach you through it. And if you've got any questions or you're stuck, I'll definitely help. So, basically a lot of that. I talk about that in one of my courses, Starting a Business 101, just making sure you've got, things like you've done your SWOT analysis, what's, and you compared it to other people already in the industry. What's your point of difference? Just things like that you need to realise. But some people aren't often aware that you have to really drill down into it to make sure you get it right for yourself so you succeed.
Yeah. And I think too, one of the things that I realised when I was starting out is I did learn to do a lot of things myself, and one, because I didn't have the money to spend on it. But what I then found is I actually think, for me, I shifted my mindset to that, for that to be an advantage, because then when I outsourced it, I knew the amount of time that it was taking for, you know, for an expert. So for instance, like my social media, I did my own social media for a while. And then when I outsourced it, I knew I kind of had a good idea about how much time they would be spending a week or a month. And I felt comfortable in outsourcing it because I knew that I wasn't going to get ripped off, because I kind of understood how long it would take myself.
Yeah, for sure. And making sure that you pick, if you've got a family, making sure that you pick that time management effectiveness as well, with or without. It doesn't matter if you have a family or not, but, you know, what do you want to spend your time on the most? What can you give off to someone else, like a VA, as you've said, Megan, to make your life still have meaning and have that self-balance in life. And that's a lot of things business owners can easily forget. Like there was a long time ago when I was in the early childhood centres, and I would forget to have lunch a lot of the time. You know what I mean? And that was, you really need to have that break. You really need to make sure you give yourself that time. And just figuring out your balance as well is really important.
Yeah, your own well-being.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you're in charge of the business, how is it going to run if you fall down, you know? So you've got to take care of yourself, definitely. That's one of the most important priorities, and it should be a goal. Take care of myself. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to just go back to the theta healing practitioner in you. Can you just explain to the audience a couple of minute explanation in relation to what theta healing is and how the process works?
So theta healing is a modality that's non-denominational. Basically, what we do is we look at something you're stuck on. We find out why you're stuck on it. So we actually ask you more questions to see why you might be stuck on a particular thing, or when was the first time it happened. And then we will ask you how you want to replace it. And then we go through the process of getting your permission to change it, go up to what we call the seventh plane, or where creator or God, or whatever your deity you prefer to call them. And we witness the change. We command for the change, or we request the change, and then we witness the change. And then we test it out with muscle testing, the fun bit. So it really is amazing. It's an amazing experience. I love it. I really do. I really find it fantastic. So yeah, and that's basically how we do it. It can take a bit of time getting to it's really hard when it's yourself, like getting stuck on something, go, why do I do that? And then sometimes you just have to ask for help. And like, even us as theta healers, we're like, I'm stuck on this. What's this to you? Because you're too close to it. But when you're helping other people, it's really easy because you can see what's happening and get the messages. For me, it's really easy for me to help other people with it.
Have you got an example of a client that, like an easy example that you could explain that a client had that, you know, you did that, finding the belief system and then changing it?
An easy one. So let me think. So I had a teenage girl think she was bad. She had an innate belief that she was bad. So she would do things at school. She would get in trouble all the time. We had to just basically do theta healing on it and say, why do you think you're bad? Oh, because I was told I was bad by a teacher, you know, and it's the relationship with that teacher that affected them. And so we go up and we say to her, how would you like to feel? That I'm good, you know. So we basically, I said, okay, how would you like to feel? We changed it with what she said was like, I want to feel good. And, you know, I basically witnessed it. Do you want me to explain the commands or just?
No, I don't think so. Oh, if you want to.
And we just asked for creator to remove everything that on all 4 levels, because there's different levels that we store these beliefs on, the soul and some other levels. And then we we basically ask them to remove. When we're in the 7th plane, they're in a meditative state, so we're going to theta state, and then they're removed, and then we send unconditional love, and then we download the positive changes, which are let her know how to feel good, and we say their name, but for privacy purposes, I won't hear. And so and on all 4 levels that they're changed over, and then we do the muscle test and check it, and go from there.
Yeah, and one of the important things. Sorry.
Then we go on to the next belief that we have to change.
One of the important things in the theta healing process is the removing the belief, but then filling it with something positive, because that's one of the biggest keys, really, isn't it? You can't remove a belief system because it leaves a void, and then it's just going to get filled up with something else. So
you don't know what that is. At least this way you control it and you manage it. It's a positive belief, and that's what you want. You want to feel more positive every day. So making sure that it's a positive belief and it stays changed is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about you, what future plans or upcoming projects do you have for your business that you're excited about at the moment?
I'm always excited about different things that I'm doing. I'm writing books. I'm writing some other things, but I'm putting a course bundle together. It's got Help Me, My Finances Are a Mess, Money Magic for Heart-Centered People. That's the one with the money story, Starting Your Business 101, and a side hustle your way out of debt to earn 200 to 500 more in passive income a week. So they're 4 courses I'm putting together. So that's really exciting for me. And just putting together a membership, which will be coming in the coming months. But at the moment, it's those 4 things. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. And I think that you've got a special offer for the audience today. So there's a way that they can connect with you.
Yeah, so if you want to find out about all those offers and courses coming up, or if you want to do some coaching with me, just go into our email subscription and join, and you'll see a weekly newsletter called Mindful Musings, and that'll tell you all about money and things around money and beliefs and meditation and mindfulness. It's a great holistic view about money.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Thank you. And then with the upcoming bundles and courses that you've got, obviously, if you join the mailing list, then the audience will learn more about that as you, and the subscription and that community. Yep, great. Okay, good.
Definitely.
Love it, love it, love it. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. So I would like to, I told you it goes quickly. I would like to ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests before we finish our conversation. So can you let us know what your favorite quote is and why it's so important to you?
So the quote I chose is one of my own. It's, "You are only limited by what you limit yourself to." So I love that quote because I really believe that you have the power to change things. So if you say keep yourself stuck and limited in a little box, you'll never move and you'll never grow. But if you open that box and, change your limits, challenge yourself, you'll grow more and you'll enjoy life more. So, yeah, that's why I love that quote.
I love that. I think that's amazing. Wow. Oh, Albina, thank you for being such a beautiful guest today, and I've really enjoyed our conversation. And I'm sure that the audience will have pages and pages of notes to digest and put into action for sure. I think probably everybody's sitting there thinking about what they may have experienced as a child or what they've heard from their parents or their grandparents ticking over in their mind. So it'll be interesting to see what aha moments the audience get as well.
Yeah, I'd love to know what they hear, what they've come up with. It'll be interesting to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, if they join your mailing list, then maybe they can pop you an email and let you know. Yeah.
For sure. That'd be great. Love that.
Great.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you also to all our dedicated listeners and supporters and our audience. And I hope that you all have an amazing weekend ahead, and that I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you again, Albina. It's been great.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.